Hello, this is Teacher Marco from phuketpals, and welcome to this GED Social Studies screencast. I would like to welcome you back, and today I will share a brief lecture about the Central Powers in World War One. This will be my sixth video in this series, and if you find this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below, and please don't forget to share it because it helps us help more people like you. So let's begin. Well, in World War One, it was fought by two major alliances of countries, the Allied powers and the Central Powers. Previously, I've talked about the Allied powers. I hope you still remember the things that I've talked about. And the Central Powers began as an alliance between Germany and Austria-Hungary. Later, the Ottoman Empire and Bulgaria became part of the Central Powers. So these are the countries that fought against the Allied powers. So, of course, Germany and Austria-Hungary are there. I mentioned a while back about Ottoman Empire and, of course, Bulgaria. So let's first talk about Germany. So Germany had the largest army and was the primary leader of these Central Powers. And Germany's military strategy at the start of the war was called the Schlieffen Plan. This plan called for the quick takeover of France and Western Europe. Then Germany could concentrate in efforts on Eastern Europe and Russia. So that was their initial plan. Now, the next country involved was, or part of the Central Powers was Austria-Hungary. So World War One essentially began when Archduke Ferdinand was assassinated, and Austria-Hungary blamed the assassination, of course, I mentioned it before, they blamed it on Serbia, and subsequently they invaded Serbia, setting off a chain of events that resulted in the war. Now, how about Ottoman Empire? How were they involved in World War One? Well, the Ottoman Empire had strong economic ties with Germany, and they signed a military alliance with Germany in 1914. The entrance into the war led to the eventual downfall of the Ottoman Empire and the formation of the country that is what's known now as Turkey. And they were established in 1923. All right, and of course, the last one, Bulgaria. Well, Bulgaria was the last major country to join the war on the side of Central Powers, and they joined in 1915. So Bulgaria claimed the land held by Serbia and was eager to invade Serbia as part of the war. So let's talk about the leaders. Who were the leaders of Central Powers? Of course, let's start with Germany, with Kaiser Wilhelm II. So Kaiser Wilhelm II was the last Kaiser of the German Empire. So you still remember Tsar Nicholas II and King George V? He was both the king of, he was related to both the King of England and the Tsar of Russia, which, like what I mentioned, George V and Nicholas II. So his policies were largely the cause of World War One. He eventually lost the support of the army and held little power by the end of the war. He abdicated the throne in 1918 and fled the country. Right. And the next one. For Austria-Hungary, their leader during the time was Emperor Franz Joseph. Now, Franz Joseph ruled the Austrian Empire for 68 years. When the heir to his throne, Archduke Ferdinand, was assassinated by a Serbian nationalist, he declared war on Serbia, beginning World War One. So Franz Joseph died during the war in 1916 and was succeeded by Charles I. Now, for Ottoman Empire, it was led by this guy, Mehmed V. So Mehmed V was Sultan of the Ottoman Empire during World War One. He declared war on the Allies in 1914. He died just before the end of the war in 1918. As per Bulgaria, it was Ferdinand I. So he was the Tsar of Bulgaria during World War One. He gave up his throne at the end of the war to his son Boris III. So if you noticed, there were a lot of empires that were banished after the end of World War One. Earlier, I mentioned about the last Tsar of Russia, which is Tsar Nicholas II. Now we also have the last empire, Ottoman Empire, because in 1923 Turkey was established. Also talked about Kaiser Wilhelm, who was the last emperor of Germany, right? Okay, I'm gonna talk about some few interesting facts about the Central Powers before we go to our GED practice test question. So, the first one is the Central Powers were also known as the Quadruple Alliance. That's you might hear these words and you might be confused, but don't be. All right. Central Powers is also the same as the Quadruple Alliance. All right. Well, the Central Powers comes from the location of the main countries in the alliance. So if you take a look at the map, they were centrally located in Europe between Russia to the east and France and Britain to the west. Another interesting fact is the Central Powers mobilized around 25 million soldiers. Around 3.1 million were killed in action, and another 8.4 million were wounded. And last one, before we go to our question, each member of the Central Powers signed a different treaty with the Allies at the end of the war. The last and most famous treaty was the Treaty of Versailles, signed by Germany. So those are just a few facts. All right, and now let's go to our questions. Not question, just a question. One question. So here we go. One of the causes of World War One was that the nations of Europe had aligned into two alliance systems. Which of the following combination of alliance comprised of triple alliance? A. France, Great Britain, and Russia. B. Germany, Great Britain, and Russia. C. Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Italy. D. Austria-Hungary, France, and Italy. So let's do a process of elimination. First, let's eliminate Germany, Great Britain, and Russia. Letter B, that's not a possible answer because we know that Germany and Great Britain and Russia were not allies. All right. Also, let's remove Austria-Hungary, France, and Italy because they are from different groups. Now we're left with France, Great Britain, and Russia. And letter C, Austria-Hungary, Germany, and Italy. We know that as per the Central Powers, they are called the Quadruple Alliance. So there's one country missing here. And Italy doesn't actually belong to the Quadruple Alliance. So with that, we are left with one answer, which is letter A. So if you answer letter A, well, congratulations. You have a big chance of passing your GED Social Studies test. So I hope that I was able to help you today, and I want to thank you for listening. Please, again, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and share this video. Thank you, and this is Teacher Marco. Bye bye.